In this video, I'll talk about 2 ways to go about creating your book. One way is going to be if you don't want to write, and the other way is if you actually enjoy writing.
This video is brought to you by EpiPie's Academy.
They're both legitimate, they're both great, and there's something for everyone in them. So if you don't like writing, no problem. And you can still create many good books that way. In fact, you can create them faster than if you did write them, because writing is the most time-consuming part of creating a book. And all you do is create an outline for your book just like you would regularly if you wrote it, but instead of writing the book, you would talk into a voice-to-text software. And there's a lot of these software, there's apps. I'll get into resources in a second that you can use. But you basically just talk the book, and you can talk the book while you're driving, while you're walking. You can talk the book and it will voice record. So you have this content for your book. It's just not in text form yet. And so all you do is you hire an editor, and then you hire a cover designer. You can get it on Fiverr.com, and boom, you have the book, and you just upload it to kdp.amazon.com, and you're done with your Amazon Kindle and paperback, because Amazon will take care of the paperback printing and shipping for you if you give them that option. Now, if you do write a book yourself, you'll notice that there are many similar steps. You'll still need to get an editor. You'll still need to create a book cover. You'll still need to go through the same process of starting a book. Now, a few words on editing. It can be expensive, and if you're a first-time author, you might be struggling financially. In my case, when I created my first book a long time ago, I did not use an editor. I gave it to a few different people to read and give me feedback. And I also went over it 2 or 3 times, and that was the equivalent of my editing. It's never as good as hiring a fantastic editor, but it will get you your book for free to a good place. And the book cover can be very cheap for $20 or $25. I've gotten some book covers on Fiverr.com. So the editing can be free. If you are okay with paying for an editor, like now I do get editing all the time, and it's 2 or 3 cents a word, but it usually depends on the quality of the editor. You can get it very cheaply, just the quality will go down. So it's really a matter of what you're comfortable affording and spending. And the freelance sites that I recommend finding, all these service providers, people who might transcribe your book, because sometimes you might use a voice to text, but sometimes you just use a voice recording. So if you use only a voice recording, you might need transcription. If you use voice to text, you don't need transcription, but you still need the editing, and you still need the book covers. So you would go to Fiverr.com and Upwork.com. Those are good sites to find an unlimited number of freelancers. And you can also ask other writers for recommendations. If you do not know any other writers, Facebook groups for writers are just a click away. I'm in a popular Facebook group that's called Pat's First Kindle Book. It's the biggest Kindle writer book out. It's the biggest group on Facebook for self-published authors. You're welcome to look that up and join yourself, and you can ask there for recommendations, and people will give you plenty of fantastic recommendations for book cover designers, editors, etc., etc. And the voice-to-text software that is popular these days is Dragon software. It's not free, but it's very good, and I have no incentive to recommend it. I'm not affiliated with them in any way. Now, how do you actually succeed with the books while you have them? Well, persistence is the key if you are a self-published author, because you are your quality control, you are your marketing, you are your everything. And obviously you are your writer. So persistence is key. Only my 3rd book did well, and my 6th book was the one that ended up my best book, but only after that book went through 5 revisions. I hope your journey will be faster, but most people do not succeed on their first book. The first book is kind of like where you make a lot of the little mistakes that your next books fix. I personally put the most effort into my first book, and to this day that book doesn't sell really well, and I put most of my heart and most of my effort into that first book, and it was heartbreaking for it not to sell too well. It only maybe sells now a few copies a month, so it's kind of a fail. It was heartbreaking, but it was also where I learned most of the lessons. As long as you keep going, you will succeed. And what I recommend is you keep revising your older books and keep writing new books and become better and better. The better your books become, the easier it will be to sell and promote them. And you always want to make better books, experiment with marketing. And oftentimes what happens to many writers is a successful book, whenever you create one, will actually pull up the sales for your less successful books. For example, most people find a few of my books that sell. Now I'll have 4 or 5 books that sell well and I'm happy with, and I have over 10 books on Amazon. So what happens is people who find my good books, when they like them, they start looking up my other books, and it raises the sales from my other books. So sometimes the way to make your book successful is to write other successful books and developing a loyal readership who get more than one of your books over time. And eventually what you want to do is create very winning books and ones that rise the ranks of Amazon. And as you rise to the book rank, your sales will increase disproportionately and exponentially. And as you become one of the better and better selling books on Amazon, that's where you can make a very significant amount of revenue with self-publishing. And throughout this course, we'll talk about all the strategies that you will use to get there.